Hello, everyone. Welcome to Awaken Dreaming. I am Yuta Jazz. This is Jessica. Wrong side. There we go. That's her. And we are making another episode. This one has been in the air around us. It kind of seems like our viewers in general have been really wondering about it. Guides, basically your guide team, anything and everything about your guide team, how to connect to them, what are they, how are they, what is that whole system? And how does it translate within your experience, and what can you do about it, and the nuances around that, because we just came out of a certain stage of spirituality, and there have been misconceptions about what guides are, how they work, or what you should be doing when moving forward within your life in relation to messages from guides or whatever have you. So this is going to be a dive into that, which then probably is going to start another whole series of a bunch of things and different topics.
As it does. Seems that it just keeps expanding and evolving into a giant tree that is covered with awake and dreaming.
Yes. And I freaking appreciate it because I can't retain a plan in my head. So it's nice that you can just jump into it and be surprised and see what's happening. Like, oh, bam, there we go, like this is the topic, or this is one thing and it evolves into a bazillion other ones. So beautiful.
I mean, fun fact, I guess, for the viewers is quite often we forget what we talk about fully in the episodes, and we have to go back to the episodes and be like, that's right, shared that story. So if we double share a story, we apologize in advance. This is our apology right here.
It is important to know that personally, me and Jessica repeat ourselves and our stories countless times when we're personally sharing between ourselves. And with Awaken Dreaming, it's odd because there's so much with it, and because it's gonna continue on into it being repeated or this, that, and the other. Doesn't matter how many times we will listen to the episode, re-listen to it, or talk about it with people, we will actually still forget and need to then go back and be like, oh, right. Did you know we talked about that in that episode? It's like, derp, I didn't remember that.
Yeah, I feel like if there are gonna be some people possibly that listen to the episodes that know more about the episodes than we do.
hmm Can you imagine like going on like a stream or this, that, and the other Discord, and someone mentioning like an episode and they're hyped to like talk about it and get your opinion? You're like, I can't remember what I said, but it was the latest like episode. I don't know what I said.
Yeah. I mean, it's accurate. The amount of times we've had to go back for like, okay, what did we
Mhm.
say for a description? Ridiculous.
Mhm. I mean, yeah, I for example, have listened to the first one about 10 times now. I feel like it's 10 times. And I still don't remember what the fuck I said or you said in that episode. I just remembered the topics vaguely if I really like try and focus on it, but that's about it. So,
I mean, I get it. I feel the same. There's some episodes I will say I remember anyway. But let's jump into this
I wanted
episode.
to do the same thing.
Let's actually dive into guides. The first thing I guess is for people that don't know much about guides, we'll give a bit of an explanation around what guides are, and we'll kind of get a little deeper into it as we go along. So if obviously if you know what guides are, hold with us for a second. um, so the basic gist of it is that guides are people that help you, and this, by the way, includes angels, fae, fairy, aliens, ancestors. Like you pretty much name it, of someone that could kind of guide you from the other plane type situation. Um, not here in the 3D physical world, and that's what you're getting at there. Um, they are here to actually help you grow and evolve. And we don't have just one guide, we all have multiple guides, and we all have guides. So whether you believe it or not, I mean, obviously, this is up to you. If you don't believe it, this is going to be an interesting episode for you to listen to.
Mhm.
Um, but if you do believe in it, then you have multiple guides. Everyone does. They're all different. Some people will have the same guide, I will say. Um, and that is also part of it. The basic way for me to personally explain guides is they are pretty much like cheerleaders that are cheering you on, wanting you to grow, develop, learn, and experience things. Quite often, they have particular, almost similar to contracts, or it's a form of a contract, I guess you could say, where they have, I want this person to get to an agreement with you. When they get to an experience of this or an understanding of that, that's my contract as a mentor guide, quote unquote, completed.
Mhm.
There's also, like, obviously loopholes of, like, I'm only gonna do so many lifetimes with the person, or because as well, sometimes if you're not learning the lesson and you're repeating it over and over again, that same guide may be like, "I am out. Like, I'm gonna leave this to someone else."
Mhm. Um,
Um, so some guides will stay around and saying that. They'll stay around for, like, 200 lifetimes, still, like, cheering you on.
there's a variety in guides and how committed or what's the word? Um, against they are, like they are in terms of you and your lessons. There's like a running joke that I've noticed all around within the spiritual community of your guide getting what's it called? Not a cease and desist order, but like keep your distance. What is that ruling in court? You,
Me, like, I can't think of the word
but you know what?
either.
Yeah.
Me or everyone knows what we mean.
Exactly. And it's kind of to an extent true, but it doesn't happen that harshly. Just FYI, there's even if your guy decides to dip out of your life, um, it's nothing personal. It just is what it is. We all have our own patience. They're probably gonna come back at some point.
And a part of that is as well is even though they are a guide, and this is a big, big myth within there, guides don't know anything. They're actually still learning and growing and developing themselves. So they're actually also gaining skills, right? And learning on a soul level for themselves as they are mentoring you. Just like as if you got a human mentor that is mentoring you as well. Now, obviously, some guides, like if we're talking like the higher tiers, like your gods, your goddesses, your archangels, those types of like high level beings, they still have some stuff to learn quite often, but nowhere near as much as the lower sort of level guides, your basic standard guides that everyone has. Which is generally why most people don't tend to have those kind of higher, they might have 1 or 2 maybe, or none of those higher level kind of beings.
hmm That's actually yeah, that triggers a bit of an interesting point. Like I don't really do too much with the idea of ascended masters, but I know that everyone in general is really like high up on like that idea of like you get to a point where you start dealing with them or working with them and this, that, and the other, and you know, your whole purpose is to become one of them and whatever. But that's like a whole another kettle of of fish. Not everyone has ascended masters, not everyone gets to that point, not everyone even has anything to do with that energy or any type of relation. The most closest you might actually get to it is hearing about it on a podcast or someone talking about what that is or like how that goes. Ascended masters are basically people that have went through the ringer a lot of times, plenty of times, perfecting a certain aspect, so a certain lesson, a certain understanding, and they have it basically as a specialty or a profession of their own within spirituality. They can have it custom or they can have it a bit more varied and
Mhm.
specific as well. And usually you only get to work to with ascended masters in really special occasions. It's kind of one of those things of like that lifetime where, you know, it's the big game. It's finally happening. You've went through all of the exams, all of the initiations, and you're getting your own graduation of some type of like specialty or profession, which will possibly lead you to join those ranks of ascended masters in some type of aspect. So that was one actually that I heard everywhere within the spiritual community when I was waking up. But as I went through everything, I've noticed that it's actually really not common. It is spoken about, but it is really, really, really rare, honestly. Um, you have
I mean,
archangels helping
they
people
pop
more.
in.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
pop in, but
they pop in and they come in and like this is true of archangels, ascended masters, gods, goddesses. They pop in, they help out, but they're not necessarily a day-to-day, everyday
mhm,
person on your guide team. They might be like the person that gets called in clinch moments to like give you the push or like hey we're kind of stuck here like what do we
mhm,
do and they come in they kind of step in and help out but it's not necessarily consistently someone that sits on your guide team quite often. So people that have had those experiences with them, that's not discrediting them, or those experiences, I should say. It's more just saying they may still not be part of your team. But in saying that, you can still call them in, you can still ask them for help, you can do all those things.
yep, yep. I don't know, just something you said triggered that whole entire point. Um, because it was huge, and I think people kind of lost themselves a bit into it. Um, Mind you, Ascended Masters were helping a lot of the collective quite prominently the last few years, and I think they've kind of calmed down because there's a bit of a rearrangement and that whole thing. Um, in general, your guides are most commonly gonna be somehow relating to a specific thing you're working past, that they already have some type of connection with you around or about, or just understanding themselves, or something they're learning through with you. Um, yeah, so most importantly, remember, they really don't have all the answers. You might be teaching them more than they're going to be teaching you through your experience and contracts and processes with them. They're on this ride just
I
as much as
mean,
you.
yeah, I mean, for anyone that's kind of, I guess, a quote unquote old soul, there is a high chance that at some point you took a break from incarnating and actually chose to take a stint as a guide somewhere along the line to help people. And the reason that we do this is it kind of the knowledge we gain on Earth we use, and then we help another person that's not necessarily, I would, the way you'd view it is kind of lower than someone, but it's not necessarily the way it's kind of viewed.
Hmm.
It's kind of like you're just helping bringing them up to understanding or speed on something that you have an understanding and a grasp on. But that other person may have like 10 things that they're above you on their own spiritual journey, but you became an expert on like forgiveness.
Hmm.
And so that is your as a guide, that's what you stick to, and you might not touch anything else
Yep.
because you don't have an understanding because all you've done in the last 200 lifetimes is focus on forgiveness.
Hmm.
And everyone's experience, and this is where as souls we are all very different people and we all focus on very different things, and even if you focus on forgiveness, your flavor of forgiveness may be different to the person sitting right beside you.
Yep. Fact.
So that's also as well where it kind of comes in. I will add as well that not all guides incarnate. There are some guides that are quote unquote, I like to call them like book nerds.
Pencil pushers.
um, Pencil pushers is another term where they pretty much they learn everything through the books as if they were going to like a university. Like they learn the theories, they learn these different things that way versus actually going in incarnating on Earth. But the reality is that most guides have incarnated at some point, even if it was only for a few lives, because they understand that the incarnation experience is extremely different to being above it all and knowing where it's kind of going.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and we can attribute that equivalent obviously to real life, where book smarts are one and street smarts are another. And you can't really compare the two. If you have both, then they kind of work hand in hand. But yet again, practical application of theoretical knowledge is never gonna add up and pan out the same way, especially when it's coming from two different mouths that aren't even on the same plane of existence or dimension. Like,
Yeah.
just you can just imagine why miscommunication happens between guides and whoever they're guiding, or just in general there's confusion of like, why aren't you doing this? You're incarnated, you're smart, you got through these lessons, and now you're looping on this one. Like, how can you not do this? And then obviously the person that's incarnated is like, can you just chill? Are you down here? No, you're not. You never were down here, and it's just a bit of a like back and forth like that. But honestly, that's quite normal and natural because yet again, it's a whole multi-dimensional learning process for everyone that's included and like involved. There is an easy way of misconceiving it to be like someone knows better or more than the other, but really it's a team effort towards the
Yeah.
same goal of expanding and heightening, your awareness and knowledge on a subject matter, just whatever various aspects.
And I think that the interesting thing that you were kind of pointing out there is with guides, like sometimes they are wrong, sometimes they aren't chill, and then sometimes they are. Quite often, actually, like people will be like, "My guide's really pushing me. They're like really wanting me to do it," and in actual fact, they kind of understand and like they're pushing you, but the person that's truly pushing you is you yourself and your higher self.
Mhm.
It's the quite often the pushiest person in the room is this person staring right back at you in the mirror.
Mhm.
Um, and sometimes, like, don't get me wrong, I've been cranky at my guides, and then I've kind of stopped and looked back and gone, "Shit."
Mhm.
That was a me problem.
That wasn't a them.
No. That wasn't a them problem. And it's so easy to do because obviously, in terms of like the reality, it's not like you're going and you're meeting them for a cup of coffee.
Nope.
Like, this is quite often for a lot of people coming through random signs, through messages, sometimes through cards, astrology, like all these different crazy little things, right? Random chance meetings.
A friend of yours
Um,
starting to talk like someone completely else, and you're wondering if they're possessed or just losing their minds. That sometimes happens.
yeah, like these little things are just like I'm putting all these pieces together, but at the same time, it's not someone physically sitting in front of you having a conversation.
Mhm. Or if it is, it doesn't come across the same way yet again because you usually have that letter they send out, but you don't see the guide. You don't feel really a
Yeah.
lot of them. You can even if you communicate a lot with them, you can have a general idea which guide gave you which message, but usually you'll get lost in differentiating it because that's not the point of it.
And I think that's a big thing that people like, for example, people have seen me talk to my guides and sometimes even other people's guides as well. Um, over different periods, particularly like recently on Twitch, I've been talking to a few guides and they're like, how do I do that? And it's like, this is something I've worked on for a really long time.
Mhm.
And I I was in a position at one point being like, "I don't even know how to talk to guides." Like, they give me
Mhm.
messages and I go, "What do you mean? Like, I don't understand spiritual speak. This isn't English. Where's my English translation, please? Hi, I would like a manual. Like, where do I find my manual, please?"
Google Translate for spiritual talk, please. Oh shit, it's not updated yet to that. We need to wait 100 more years.
Where is my download? Where is the app for my iPhone that I could just type in 111, just saw it. What is the meaning?
I mean, the easiest contact I've had with guides since I actually started being able to communicate and connect with them is automatic writing or having someone channel them or channeling them myself around other people. But yet again, what I figured out and noticed is one, if you figure out a definite way to get an answer for a specific thing in a specific moment of time, you're not going to be able to repeat it. It's going to be a different assortment of whatever perfect perfect conditions every single time. And
Yeah.
then besides that, depending on who you are, where you are, it doesn't matter how much you're catching your tail and going in circles. If they were telling you, hey, you know everything, stop bothering us, we still love you, you can do it,
Mm.
it won't matter if you're gonna get a direct message from them, from the cards, from another person, from automatic writing, or in a fucking dream, you're still gonna get the same message of, hey, you know everything, stop bothering us, we're preparing for the next lesson, this, that, and the other. Because we've tried already, and you know, it's like that's normal, that's natural. You get a message, you're confused. You try figuring it out, you're more confused. You let it go, then after a few months
Mhm.
it starts making sense, and you're like, so that was that easy, really? And I spent so much time being confused. And also, the guide or guides will have the same experience in their side with that too. They're gonna be like,
Yeah.
how do I get through this to this person? I tried everything. I sent them like 50 billion fucking angel numbers. I sent them a specific bird that's also abnormal with the pattern of their feathers and it's in a specific shape. I gave them multiple clouds in the last 2 hours. They've seen every number, I mean, every license plate having the same exact number, and they've been driving for 30 minutes and they still haven't noticed it. Like, how do you not notice looking at the same freaking number for like 30 minutes of the day while you're driving around and moving? Like, I don't, what do I do? Like, and they get confused, and then, you know, they go through their own process of figuring it out, understanding how to send messages, how to connect with you, how to communicate, and what energy to relay. Um, I feel like there is a misconception that, yeah, guides are really loving and supportive, and they do have that intent of going with you through whatever you're going. Um, but at the end of the day, they're their own beings. They are also individuals, although there's obviously a point that they're in the whole ocean of consciousness thing. They still have their own attitudes. They have their misconceptions, attachments, everything. They're more human or personal than you can imagine them to be.
I mean, what I will say though, because I feel like you're kind of gonna scare people and say that some of them aren't loving. What I will say is there seems to be a blanket rule, and I'm not necessarily saying because I haven't actually like seen or heard this rule anywhere, but there's a from what I've seen and experienced, guides are loving and caring, and if they get to a point where they're not, they kind of almost get like sent back to guide school, I guess you could say. Like you go back to level 1 type thing. So don't think that like if that's an issue, that's not going to be dealt with. It is.
I mean, yeah, there's a certain amount of I guess difficult energy you can dish out as a guide. Like you can be sassy, you can have an attitude, but you still need to do the job and be professional,
Yeah.
and have that responsibility. That is actually, I feel like, also one of the reasons why a lot of people that are incarnated get a limitation on how they are going to act as guides if they are guides, for other people, and they might actually get that paused or postponed until they you know pass and cross over back, and that's when they get back
Mhm.
into the work fully, because while you're working on a whole aspect that's incarnated and that's emphasized and that's going through its own stuff and etc., that will cross over. and it's gonna be like a whole huge thing. But eventually, you do get to a point where you level up and you don't get that vacation time of being incarnated, and you just can throw your hands and be like, I'm good. It's not my job no more. Like this is someone else's, worries. Like no, at some point you're gonna be a guide that's incarnated, still has paperwork, and goes through all of the things that you need to. And you've already went back into guide school multiple times because you've probably made those mistakes. Because everyone's made mistakes while guiding other people because of either attachment, getting flared up,
Mhm.
certain circumstances, other guides upsetting you because not all guides agree with all guides on the same team.
Well, that is one of the thing is like you may have I know for a fact that I've had people I know that have had very different guides that don't
Hmm.
generally tend to go together because they have very different ways of
Yep.
opinions of how things should be done, and so they have to like make ground rules of like, okay, you are looking after this thing, okay, you're looking after that, and
Hmm.
if it's in this area, we have a meeting about it
Hmm. Yep.
and we decide what to do. So then they don't end up fighting and arguing and like, like it always kind of reminds me of like when you see cop shows and you've got like the FBI and the local cops and it's like, no, this is my jurisdiction, no, this is my jurisdiction, like that type of vibe to it
Hmm.
of like them pulling their like badges out, like being like, I'm in charge of this area, type thing. One thing I did wanna say, and this is just a personal note, I guess, for me, although I'm sure some people have also had this experience as well, is because I am able to hear guides, I have heard some like, them cheering me on, I have heard them, like, face palming and being like, "Oh my god, not again," which is always a great thing to hear. It generally honestly makes me laugh, I do have to say, 'cause I'm just like, "Hey, I'm
Hmm.
doing the right thing, I guess." Um, but
High five me.
I've also heard them where I've been going in the wrong direction, like, I've started to go in the wrong direction. I've literally heard them, like, in a meeting, like, "Okay, she's starting to do that thing again. What are we gonna do about it to kind of push it the other direction?" And me just sitting there going like, "Hi, you left the mic on, like, I can hear you guys."
You're like, oh
And
shit.
then being like, oh, sorry, we'll get back to you in a second," and turn the bike off type thing.
Could just feel them having like an argument or one off at someone like, Charlie, what the fuck? Why didn't you turn off the mic? That was your responsibility. We said it last time. Stop.
"You what? I told you to stop sitting there, you're sitting on the bike and the button is red."
Oh.
I mean, I don't know if there's an astral button and, like, a mic, so to speak, but in human terms, it's the easiest way to explain why that thought
Mhm.
kind of pops into your head. It's like,
Mhm.
there's a mic and somehow they left the mic on and they don't even realize that that conversation's coming through. Um, but you don't need to, in saying that, you don't need to hear your guides in order to communicate with your guides. Like you just said, writing, journaling, saying stuff aloud or even
Mhm.
in your head, and
Mhm.
then asking for messages is a great way. I mean, it's something I think we've said in multiple podcasts around that.
Yep.
Even giving specific signs. So, like, you know, when I find the right house that I'm meant to live in, show me butterflies.
Mhm.
And you go to a house and there's like 1,000 butterflies. Oh, that's the house.
I'm actually gonna use an example that you did a year ago, which was I don't know who to go with or trust in this certain circumstance. Can you please show me either the deer totem or the eagle totem, depending
Yep.
on where I should be going? And in the next like hour and a half, you saw like three deer, then instantly after you were like, what the fuck is happening? You saw another two deer, and then the whole entire day was just deer, the whole entire time. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't even notice like how I used to do that for myself in my life because I'm one of those people that my guides don't really like nowadays we communicate more and we talk more, but even then I talk more with the angelic like guides rather than let's say whoever else might be that's of a, star seed or like alien race or
Yeah.
whatever. Like I talk basically with only like a few angels, and that's about it. I kind of ignore everyone else because they used to not guide me and not talk to me when I was talking to them, and I have a bit of a beef with that currently. So I only like really communicate when I go to sleep. So before that, I needed to what? I'm gonna
Continue. I've got a point.
Okay, hold your point. So I had to communicate with signs and the matrix and intention on that. I'm like, okay, I need explanation and understanding on this, or my intention is currently to hone in on this aspect or figure this out as I'm going through this lesson. So you need to obviously communicate with me because you know what reaches me, and you know now after 2, 3 years of doing this what I'm gonna pay mind to and what I'm not gonna pay mind to, and there's gonna be a gray zone where I'm just gonna leave it and be like, I don't need to pay attention to this. Like I know what you're talking about, but I'm gonna decide to go the other opposite way, and then I know what's gonna happen already. I had a channeling session with a friend where we were channeling each other's guides and whatever. Basically what I heard is shut the fuck up, you've already heard everything, you know everything, we're just here trying to push you forward on that, we'll start talking to you once you get over this period and etc. There's like you really need to do this on your own, we can't talk to you anymore, we're tired of this, it's
Yeah.
not against you, it's nothing against you. It's also understood that you're in this like experience where you're scared in the 3D. We really are aware of that, but you gotta go through this and it'll get better, and you'll find out that you don't need us as much as you think you need us. You don't need to follow our guidance. You need to follow your own heart, and we'll help you the best we can to do that. And now I only talk to a few
Mm.
angels because I got the message.
And this is I guess the point is quite often there will be a quote unquote like leading, I guess you could say race or type. So for you to that's angels, right? For other people it could be fae, it could be a particular starseed type. It's going to be different for everyone. Rarely is it like a round table of multiple different races where everyone kind of has equal power. Um and that's just because everyone kind of they agree on a lot of things, but they disagree on some things. And it's just easier to have like a this is the, collective group that's in charge.
hmm And you will be working, really good point. Yeah, I didn't catch on to that. And you will be working with different councils, different groups, etc. for specific different things. Uh,
Mm,
like although I mostly talk with angels for guidance for my own personal healing and shadow work, I let's say have noticed that I always work with Palladians when it's download season. If it's download season, if the planet is like weaving in a whole new level of reality or light codes or whatever, I notice that I really closely work with Pleiadians, although I sometimes even don't want to. Not that I have anything against them, it's just I kind of don't want that awareness. I don't want to be all over the place with everything I do in the spiritual plane because there's a lot there, and you don't need to be tuned into everything, especially with your guide team. Like, you don't need to know everything. You don't need to be aware of all of the stuff you do, although you want to. Honestly, once you get to a certain point, you're like, can I get a vacation? Can I kind of like, level it out? Because this is a lot, and I already have bills to pay and mouths to feed, and have this job, and I'm trying to like fix up my fucking car, and now I'm also thinking about all of these meetings I'm having in the astral, or like conversations with guide teams. Like, it can be a bit overwhelming. So depending on your circumstance, maybe the season, maybe the stage of life you're going through, maybe just whatever, you will be contacting and communicating with different entities. Like, for example, you might notice that every single time you're going through a transformative season where you're shedding skin and you're letting things go and purging deeply, I don't know, maybe you're talking with like one particular ascended master, or you go into like deep forests of Fey realms, or you talk to a specific archangel. I have noticed that specific archangels are a reoccurring guide or whatever for like certain periods of time, very very certain like specific periods of time. One of the most famous ones being Archangel Michael is the one that helps you get your confidence and where you
Mr.
are in
Mr. PL.
Mr. PR. Look at me, I have a blue sword of flame. Basically, yeah, he's
We
always the
love you. We didn't say that. We love you, Michael. Like seriously,
he knows,
we
he
we
fucking knows.
we give him stick. He hangs around both of us quite a lot.
hmm
Um,
but like he's gonna be there when you need to trust in yourself and have confidence and accept protection while you're going through something difficult, and that shielding that you're gonna be okay. That's his main thing, for example, and
yeah.
everyone has some story with Michael.
I mean, he's an amazing guide, and he's like if anyone ever is looking for
Love Michael.
protection, he's like he's a go to. I have to say because and part of the reason for me is because he's so pure in the way that he deals with things. He is very like straight business, and very much like does not necessarily put himself, and that's where we're talking about like guides in terms of different levels. He's not necessarily going to be a lot of people's guides. He's going to be like a guardian or someone that pops in and like
hmm
does that, but he may pop in for particular occasions, right? To help you get over a period, and then he's going to dip. He's like calling in the expert, like
hmm
here's the expert coach to come in, do some work, and then he's got to go because I mean, even though he has omnipresence and can be in multiple places at once, that doesn't mean he wants to be
Everywhere,
everywhere.
all the time. hmm
Yeah. Um, it would grow tired. I don't know, but I reckon it would grow tiring.
I mean, omnipresence in general, like, there, there we go. That's probably another useful misconception. Like, okay, so we already gave personalities, attitudes, and characteristics to guides being individuals as well as regardless of their specific like background or race, as it were. The
Mm,
nuances with that too. But then you also got to think about it like you're looking at guides from this dimension out there, and there's a lot of preconceptions and etc., but we don't really understand how that experience works, just as they don't really understand our practical 3D experience here being in our bodies to the full extent
I
that we
mean,
feel it.
they do
um
and they don't.
they do and they don't, but that's the same thing. Like we can, imagine or hypothesis how like omnipresence works, but I'm just gonna like keep it bare bones and say if I could be everywhere all the time and split myself apart, I definitely wouldn't want to be in all of the places where I work all the freaking time. I would like to then somehow balance play and work, do my
Mhm,
responsibilities, not be an ass that just comes around and then instantly goes and keeps on working or this, that, and the other. I will definitely, spend time here and there, either for whatever I need to, or maybe even a personal conversation, just to show like my support or company. But even then, omnipresence takes effort. It's the same thing as like you multitasking, except on a higher level in a way, and you being capable of doing that 110%. It would get
mhm.
tiring.
Yep.
Doesn't matter how good you are
It
at it.
no, it doesn't. Um, but yeah, guides are something that we all have. It is something that you're going to experience to some degree. What that degree is partly up to you. What I will say, and this is really really important, is no matter what messages you are getting from guides, you always have free will. You can always choose another option. You don't have to take the option that you think you're meant to take because the guide or message or whatever it is tells you. Because sometimes as well, you've also got to remember that we're humans and we misinterpret signs and signals and we think it's like you need to go here and it's actually over here
hmm
that you want
Yep.
to go to. And if you just follow your own, like, but I don't really want to do that, I want to do this over here, you wouldn't have done the thing that you thought all the signs were about.
Yeah. Yeah, my hate me for mentioning this, but I feel like I really have to. Anyone and everyone that's listening, do not take this the wrong way because this is all hunky dory and okay. Sometimes guides and guide teams depending on the circumstance, how triggered you are, or how attached you are to a certain thing, or how invested and overly critical and emotional you are about something, or maybe just up in your head, fantasy land, la la land, they will be taking you through a process where you invest, where you go through a thing, where you like really aspire for my either this thing or you really blow up this feeling, and then they're gonna burst
Mm.
their bubble. Legitimately, they're gonna make this journey of you realizing how much in your head and your heart or just unrealistic, irrational you are about something that you're going for or doing. This is so you drop whatever isn't serving you about it, whatever is fake, whatever isn't is useless, taking up space, and so you can see the truth of the matter aspect or aspiration without getting lost in it or on your way there. Yes, it can deflate you. Yes, it can be a really tough hit. Yes, it can cause a bit of a period where you might be distrusting of your guides, this, that, or the other, but please know, I feel like I could say on behalf of every guide that has ever done this and every person that's experienced this, it's all hunky dory, it's groovy, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't feel embarrassed. Don't feel guilty. Don't feel ashamed. Don't feel like you're stupid or bad or like something was wrong about how you connect or communicate with guides, because sometimes you are going to have experiences of not getting the message or misinterpreting it or thinking like you're actually hearing one thing because you want to believe that and feel that, and other times you are going to actually be hearing it and it's just going to pan out, and then the third occasion is going to be you hearing something, following it with all your heart and it falling through, so you land on something that is an actual foundation that you can grow and prosper from as a really really stable strong individual and learned some really valuable lessons. Those are hard. Those are hard, but they are one of the better gifts if you get through them and you actually do get them. Don't hold that against your guides because at the end of the day, they're just doing it with love. So you become even wiser, more aware, and conscious of who you are and how you go through things. And so you can figure it out yourself next time. You'd like, they won't even do anything. You'll go through that up and down yourself and be like, I went up high and now I'm back down here. Okay. Gotta keep being mindful, you know?
Mm. And just totally lost my train of thought. It was there and then it was gone. Um, I want to go back slightly. I did have to re-remember it because you desire yourself to try to kind of semi make me forget this point, and I can already feel her like kind of semi trying to make me forget it again. So I'm gonna really just try and hone in and focus on this point, which is pretty much that. God damn it! Done it again. Like, I get you can keep this one in. I'm gonna kick her butt very soon. Um,
Oh, this is fun.
but pretty much guides are sometimes going to lead you down the quote unquote garden path, um, and put you off like that, funnily enough. Like that. The reason being is because sometimes you need to go down the garden path in order to get to where you need to get to. And if you didn't go down a road that you like, if they had a said that that's a dead end road, you would have been like, "Well, I'm not going down there." But in order to like by going down that dead end road, you learnt like 10 lessons that you need for the actual true path that's over here.
Yep.
So it's not necessarily a dead end road. It's like a dead end road that has like a side street attached to it that you didn't even realize was out there, that then takes you back to the main path.
Mhm.
Um, so don't feel like if you've fallen into one of these things, because plenty of people do, more than likely, if you like look at the things you learned in that period, you can actually apply it to what you actually are going to do going forward.
Mhm.
And Like, guides don't necessarily like, quote, unquote, "lying" to you. They do it because it's for, like, the overall better good over the long period of time.
Yep.
It's not something that they do just to piss you off.
Yeah, it's nothing personal. It's all business, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's kind of it perfect example is it's kind of like when you kinda come down to earth and you on a soul level, you choose between, like, what you wanna do, and it's like you're sitting down getting your contracts drawn up and they're like, "So what package would you like? Would you like platinum, gold, bronze?" And you're like, "I want the platinum, 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 platinum package." And then that's when you end up in like India in the slums and your life is absolute crap and you're like, "Why am I in India in the slum?" And you've got yourself out of the slums, right? And somewhere and you started to make something of yourself. Think of the actual, like, in terms of soul growth experience that that person is probably going to have versus someone that is like born with a silver spoon in their mouth. They get everything given to them. Like, each have their own experiences and each have their own benefit. But in terms of like soul growth, what tends to be more expansive is those hard situations generally
I mean,
versus the easy life.
in general, it's not necessarily just the hard truths, but it's that platitude of going from a low to the high in that specific like sequence or amplitude. Um, because at the end of the day, you know, you might start out somewhere better, lower, whatever. Like you might be a millionaire and then end up in the slums, right? And you still have basically that same amount of learning. You don't know what that package is gonna contain. Do not try contacting the marketing team for Earth's incarnations. They will not be helpful. I'm just straight up telling you, it's automatic messages and automatic messages. What you got is what you're stuck with, unless you want a refill instead of a refund. Then you're, yeah.
Which pretty much means you're coming back to Earth, so, and you gotta make it through this incarnation to get
Mhm.
to the refills. The refill station is on the other side after you go through a process of sitting down and reviewing this life.
Mhm.
You don't even get to see the refill station until you get through the review.
And it's not just a refill of shitty things, it's also a refill of all of the things you do appreciate and you do like and you do want more because you can get both or just one of them. But you gotta get to that. I want a t-shirt. I really want that to be on a t-shirt. Like, no refunds, only refills. Life.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's gonna happen.
Mhm. That would be great. I would really like that.
But I think on that note, we may
Mhm.
actually wrap this up. Obviously, you guys probably have more questions about guides. Please feel free to reach out to us. Um, you know, all of the details and, Instagram, YouTube, everything else, Twitch accounts.
We should probably start posting the email address so we can get or post it in the about section so people could contact us if it's personal matters they don't want in comments or something else like that.
I
So
mean, but DMs are still open on at least Instagram. So
Twitch,
if you have
Instagram, YouTube,
mm,
all of there, and also on occasion, if you do see us on Discord or use Discord, our server is going live
is it
this
live?
weekend, the 16th and 17th of July. Those are the opening days. Today we are finishing up
Mhm.
some work. So if you are a viewer, if you want to join our server, if you want to get any friend, any family member, doesn't matter, your granny, your dog, or whatever on the server too. If you just want to like share that or just get people like don't bring in trolls, please. But it is a public open space for us to come together, commune, share our experiences, and vibe on the thing. Not just spirituality or the flexibility of our multi-dimensional experience, but legitimately just being human
Mhm.
together, keeping company like with each other, and just like being who we truly are. Whether you know you believe in ghosts or you're a complete atheist, it doesn't matter. So you will be seeing that probably posted somewhere. I don't know. I'm gonna do something about it. It's gonna be on screen. Click the freaking link if you wanna chat to us and ask your questions on Discord.
And for those on Spotify, we'll probably put it in the description or like on any of
Yeah,
those kind of
description.
listening services. We'll put it in the description.
Mhm.
So look for it there.
Yes.
And on that note, I will say I'm super duper excited for the Discord to be open because this is something that, you know, I've been working a shit ton on for over a year, which sounds like a lot, but believe me, the way we build servers is a little different. And maybe we'll do a whole episode on that one day. Maybe it'll be an interesting episode.
Well, we haven't really spoken too much about all of the weird things you can do with either astral or multidimensional things when it comes to virtual reality.
Yeah.
Intent in working on that and what that can become. So we could do a
That'll
little bonus episode all about it because it wouldn't take long, like 30 minutes or something, but I feel like people would find it really interesting and helpful because you if you knew what happens on the internet and what it truly is energetically and what can be set up and the intention that goes into that and
Mhm.
how that actually not just becomes a real thing that affects people but can mutate into its own being or AI or anything else environment that is conscious like nature, you would be freaking surprised. So yeah, Princess Boo Boo has put in so much work into this environment. It's going to be totally lit
I
and very
mean,
cozy.
this has been a thing. We didn't even realize this was gonna be part of a thing, but this has been a thing that, like, before we realized what it truly was, we were working on this, April last year, was it? Yeah, it would have been April.
The first draft was April, then the second draft I feel was taken
Then it
down
became an
in
actual Discord server,
way late.
like,
Oh wait, oh when it did actually become a
mm,
Discord server, that would be
May?
no
That was
because
May.
no because at the beginning of May I think the second one got discontinued, the second attempt because you had two that got discontinued, right? And then you had the Nature
Yeah.
Temple being the third one that actually was not used.
Sure, that was May. Actually, then it would actually be longer than April. It was probably, like, February, and yeah, that's probably actually right.
So May 27th in my time was the day that
Yeah.
you created the Nature Temple.
Which, fun fact, was the, like, lunar eclipse craziness, like, start of the lunar eclipse season.
Yep, the super powerful full moon.
I think it was blood lunar eclipse, or was
Yeah,
that the one at the end of the year?
no, I think it was blood. It was on the 26th, but obviously the energy carried over to the 27th, and for us it was like a whole same day type of vibe thing. Um,
Mhm.
so it has been a long time coming. We're really excited to see you there, personally talk with you, hang out, vibe, and see where that whole entire journey goes,
Yeah,
basically.
I'm very excited. And your guides are welcome, they're probably gonna be there, just putting it out there.
It will be a hub and a place for multidimensional beings. Usually we would separate it out to being a specific theme of who is allowed and who isn't, or who helps with the server's
Mhm.
energy or not. But this is basically gonna be just a hub and a lobby of everyone's energy and who they are, from what I gather. So that's gonna be really interesting. I feel like there's already a bar somewhere that all of the guys are gonna be like, tough day, Frank. You don't fucking even know or imagine, man.
And then there'll be the human side of
Mhm.
us, like, being like, "Man, life sucks. I don't know what to
Yep.
do." And
Anything
on that
else?
note, guys, I think we're gonna wrap it up and leave it there. Just obviously remember, um, that, this life is for living. get out there, live. It's the
Yes.
message we always end the podcast with, but it's such an important message. Um, it's time to, what is it, Yuta? Stop
It's
dreaming.
time to stop dreaming your life away, and it's time to
It's time
start
to stop.
living. Start living your life as the
Awaken.
dream that you do want to truly experience and have. 10101, by the way, was exactly on the recording at that exact time. Probably not on the
If that's
episode.
not a sign from our guides, I don't know what is.
Basically, at least for us personally, because it was definitely different numbers for
I mean,
you.
it could be for anyone else that's listening to the
True,
podcast as
true,
well.
true. But yet again, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this. I was Yuta Jaws,
And I'm Jessica,
aka Princess Boo Boo.
Princess Boo Boo, on Twitch.
We stream all the time. You can get free readings there, or just talk about existence and life. So thank you, and see you next time.
Bye, guys.